How are you guys doing today?
Doing pretty good. And yourself?
Well can be for this moody Wednesday. It's a real quick change of weather from sunny and bright and beautiful. Now it's like gloomy. It's all
It's
good.
LA. It'll be back.
It'll be
We'll
back,
be
yes.
back. We'll be back.
Awesome. How are you doing tonight, Alicia?
I'm good.
Awesome. Okay. I'm excited. Good evening. Good evening. Seeing people in the chat. Hello, Pierre. Good evening. Please go ahead and feel free to, share a little bit about yourselves in the chat. Let us know where you're from. I'm curious to see where people are always joining us from.
Wonder if they're joining from the
Regard
Lakers game.
Odess is always not too excited that we schedule these meetings the same time as Laker game. But it's okay. It's okay. All right, we see some people from Alhambra, from Duarte. Awesome, awesome. Wonderful. Oh, it's a normal sunny day in the UK. Okay. Got some people from across the pond. I like it. Reseda. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. Give it a couple minutes. From Los Angeles. Awesome. A lot of people from LA County. Good to see. Good to see. Ventura. Nice, nice. All right. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and get started. Culver City. Wonderful. Okay. I'm glad this is being shared amongst LA County residents. It's a good topic, especially our SoCal PPM team that's here tonight. They're based right in Inglewood. So very, very close to a lot of people in LA County. Nice. See San Luis Obispo. Okay, okay. Slow town showing up. I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Let me go ahead and pull up the PowerPoint. All right. Yeah. Let's see. It's your full screen. Can everyone see my screen okay? You guys can see my screen okay?
Yes.
All right, I see a question. Might the PowerPoints be sent to all attendees? I may have to hop off early. Yes. We do share the recording. Some of you all may have received like our newsletter. In our newsletters, we do share the recording. Right now, our team at Black Tech Link, we're working kind of like on like a web resource center where we're going to put up all of our workshops because we have so many and they all could be beneficial to you depending on what part you are in your business journey. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. Again, welcome. My name is Elizabeth Cotton. I'm the executive director of Black Tech Link. We are a California-based nonprofit organization whose mission is to focus on the economic development of Black and underrepresented communities by providing workforce solutions, technical training, and networking opportunities. Um, so just a little bit of background. We started this program series literally like a week or so ago called Real Wealth Strategies. And we're doing it in partnership with a property management company based in Los Angeles called SoCal PPM, Southern California Premier Property Management. And they'll go ahead and share a little bit about what they do. but we really wanted to come together and create a program series that helps small business owners that own real estate or want to venture and grow those endeavors. And so the first workshop that we did was property management as a business owner, which was very well received. We also did a workshop last week called syndication with friends and family, which I learned is coming together with your friends, your family to invest in and build on real estate ventures, which is really exciting. Um, and Alicia and Odess, shared how to properly, in those first workshops, how to properly set up your business so you can ultimately build wealth from real estate. So I'm excited to have this workshop today, which is focused on real estate and succession planning. And Odess, correct me if I'm wrong, but pretty much succession planning is ultimately creating a legacy. That is like the key part to creating generational wealth, is to make sure you have a succession plan in order. And Alicia and Odessa are going to talk about that today, how to properly structure it. Um, and just a little bit about Black Tech Link. So this is our 5th year as an organization. We do a lot of different programs. We do workforce development where we match employers with job seekers, whether they're unemployed, underemployed, looking to make a career change. We also do youth training series teaching students different STEM concepts such as coding, front-end web development, a little bit of GIS and different STEM concepts. And we do that pretty regularly. And we also do small business programming. We have an initiative called Small Business Mastery Program where we provide workshops and free consultation. Our Small Business Mastery Program is also supported by the State of California Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development, more specifically, the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. And so, a lot of these workshops that you'll see coming up uh, through Black Tech Link. Those are, supported by the SB TAP program. That's what it's called, Small Business Technical Assistance Program. And so in this program, we provide our services for free. So if you are looking for or you need some sort of assistance, support, our internal team is able to provide that free consultation, or our partners, SoCal PPM. They are also our partners. Those are the people that are going to be leading the workshop today. They also provide consultation. And so we have a lot of different consultants that provide support in different areas of your business, whether it's legal, whether it's marketing, whether it's funding, exporting, real estate growth, you name it. If we can identify someone in our network to support you, we'll definitely make that connection. Later in the program, I'm going to share our Calendly link. We'll ask a little bit about your business, and you can schedule a time to chat with myself or other folks on the call. All right. Well, I am super excited again for today's workshop. This is the 3rd workshop in our series. And tonight I want to introduce again Odess Riley Jr. and Alicia Bramble from SoCal PPM. Everybody, please give them a digital round of applause. Odess and Alicia, please go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Ladies first.
My name is Alicia. I am a partner at SoCal Premier Property Management. And just happy to be here this is a really good topic today. So I'm really excited for you guys to learn more.
My name is Odess Riley. I'm a partner. I identify as tall, dark, and handsome. I like long walks on the beach, and I'm a Virgo. So
This guy.
no, I hope we can give you guys some good information tonight and just share some things that I wish people in every community knew a little better. So I think it'll be good information.
Wonderful. All right, I'll let you take it from here.
All right, so this is about succession planning, guys. how to protect, transfer your real estate assets for generational wealth. A lot of people use the word generational now, and that's a cool word. It's kind of a buzz catchphrase, and I get what it means, but the biggest thing that you understand, generational, legacy, all those words are fine. But what you want to understand is not paying taxes, not giving your money away to other people that you worked hard for. So if you take away the word generational, you take away the word legacy, and you just say, you know what? I worked really hard to be able to give something to my kids, and I want to be able to give it to them without being taxed a little bit more. You want to understand that a succession plan is something you need. All right, let's get started with these slides, Elizabeth. All right, so we're gonna do an introduction. Why succession planning matters. Like, what is real estate succession planning? That's the big question. Well, it is the plan. So when something happens, if you are giving a property to a child, if someone passes away and a family member leaves a property, if you have single family homes or houses and you want to trade into other properties and you want to make sure that your family has access to those properties if something happens to you and it's in a business, you have to have a succession plan set up. Ensuring your assets transfer smoothly is the key word, smoothly. They can transfer, but what did you have to go through for that to happen? All right, so why it's important to avoid probate and unnecessary taxes, right? The number one thing you want to think of with probate is, let's use an example of $1 million. You have a house worth $1 million and you don't have a will or you don't have a trust, let's say, and that property goes through probate. That means the government is involved now and lawyers are involved. So let's just say that $1 million right off the top before anything happens, before you pay off any of your debts in the family, anything that was owed on the property, you lost 25 to 30% of the value of the estate because Uncle Sam's going to want to cut, and all the lawyers who make sure that that cut gets given to Uncle Sam are all going to make sure they get paid. So you're trying to preserve wealth and family assets by making sure that your properties, assets, anything that you own are put into some type of protective shield. Do you want to add anything to this, Alicia? All right. So even if you're thinking about a business, right? And you have a business, let's say you opened up a juice bar and it's doing really, really good. And you guys are gangbusters and it's you and a family member or you and a business partner. And someone passes away. Who owns the business? Who owns that 50% of the business? Is your former friend going to just be like, well, he told me when he passed away that he was leaving it to me, and since I've been here working, it's mine? Is there key man insurance, insurance that would allow you guys to get paid for the property, for the business, to help for losing that other owner? Is there a way for your kids to be able to inherit the other half of the business? That all comes into you having a succession plan, having that in a will or a trust. And the quick question is, who needs this? Well, anybody who owns anything should have some type of succession plan. You should have a will, a trust, some type of understanding, some type of insurance to make sure all the things that you worked all these years to get aren't just given away to somebody. Next slide, please. All right. So when buying properties, you want to make sure that you're structuring your real estate holdings. Using trust LLCs to hold property. Revocable versus an irrevocable trust. If you have an irrevocable trust, once something is set in there, it's essentially set for life. Well, not set for life, but it is set where it's very hard to move things around. You can make a lot of changes. It's hard to refinance. It's hard to sell the property. If you put something in a revocable trust, you have the ability to still move in and out of the trust. However, if you put it in a revocable trust and you leave the property to family members or something, they can make decisions that you may not want them to make. So in my opinion, a revocable trust is something that is easier maneuvered, and an irrevocable trust is very, very solid and like not set in stone, but it's rigid. So you have to know that if somebody leaves an irrevocable trust, they probably have some specific rules on how they want you to handle and manage things. Anything you want to add to this, Alicia, as I move forward?
No, I'm sure you'll get to talking to an attorney later.
100%. So on
Because
all
I've
of
been
this
called
information,
before too, so the attorney was
yes, no. On everything that we're talking about, I'm giving you a high level understanding. Anything that's going to be about taxes, we want you to consult with your attorney. Anything that I'm telling you in here about the basics of what you should be looking for are coming from a business standpoint. If you want to structure something or you wanted to have somebody going over something for you, you want to definitely make sure you have an estate attorney or an attorney who understands real estate very well. All right, so we're going to talk about single member LLCs and multi-member LLCs. So if you're running a single member LLC, it's essentially like you're running a doing business as. It's you, it's just a level of security over your assets. It's just something, let's say you buy a house and you put it in an LLC and you're a single member entity. It's essentially just giving you a wall of security between your personal assets and the property. And if you're doing a multi-member LLC, that just means you have multiple people in that LLC with you. So they are a part of the company that you started. You want to do this to redirect liability and ensure seamless transfer. So if you have a house and you have it in an LLC, when you go to sell that property, you're going to escrow or you're going to the attorney and you're essentially selling that LLC with the property attached to it. You want to make sure that all the information is in that LLC. You want to make sure that you are not still connected to that LLC at the end. And if you're the buyer, you want to make sure that that person is not connected to that LLC any longer, because you don't want to have any liens or judgments or anything else that's connected to that other owner. All right. Anything to that, Alicia? All right. If not, we'll go on to like the difference between a will and a trust. So it's pretty simple. A will is you telling people what your last wishes are. You're setting up something to say, this is what I would like done with my stuff. And when you pass away, there is a record of what you would like to do. Whereas a trust, especially a revocable living trust, allows you to transfer property without probate. So with the will, you're probably still going to end up going through probate and you're still going to lose that percentage of money, but at least your family's not going to fight over what's left. Whereas with the trust, you're going to put your property and your assets in it, and that trust owns it. So when you pass away, the government essentially does not come after the assets that were in that trust. They go after the things that were owned by you specifically. So if you wanted to transfer your house into a revocable trust and you leave the property in the trust to your heirs, when you pass away, essentially the trust just goes to your family. And once again, for anything that you're doing, you want to make sure you're consulting with an attorney. But these are the basic understanding of how wills and trusts work. All right. You're going to have a durable power of attorney. So this is when you're getting involved with making sure that you have the right legal advice, because you don't want to give anybody a power of attorney over anything that you have without real big guidelines and understanding of what can and cannot be done. You also, in this trust or in your will, you want to have, well, in your trust, you want to have some healthcare directives. If something has happened, if you're in a coma, does somebody pull the plug? If you're sick and you can't make decisions for yourself, who is going to be taking care of all the assets? So these are all things, once again, as Alicia alluded to, that you want to be talking to an attorney about, but you want to have an understanding yourself. We want to talk about role of family and business partners, designating decision makers, assigning successor managers or co-owners. This goes back to what I was speaking to earlier. Everything is good till it's not. If you have a business, me and Alicia and our business partner, James Doherty, we have a property management company together. We own 33% of it each. If something is to happen to one of us, if I was to pass away, my son, Odess III, what does he own now? Does he get paid out? Does he get bought out? Does he own a part of the equity? Does he own monthly income?
No, he
How is it spent?
immediately has to start working.
Immediately, he's 10 and he has to start going, taking care of all the paperwork.
Start working.
Knowing him, he'd be like, I don't have to go to school. Sounds good. So you want to have these things in order. You definitely want to look at key man insurance, especially if your business is profitable. You want to make sure that these things are in order because once again, everything is good until it's not. So you want to make sure that you are putting things in black and white so that other people can understand the wishes and what you guys wanted to do. Anything on this, Alicia?
No, this is pretty straightforward and something that everyone should be thinking about.
Okay. Do we have any questions out there, Elizabeth, before we move to the next slide?
I actually have my own personal question.
Okay.
You may or may not know this, but can a nonprofit be in a trust?
A nonprofit is not owned by a person,
Oh.
it's a board of directors.
Okay.
So, but the nonprofit, like no business can really be in a trust. What the assets from the business, how it's going to be managed, how things are structured would be in the trust.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. Next slide.
You know what, Odess? Can you explain what an executor of this estate is, or executor of the estate
Executor.
is?
All right. So an executor is a person who essentially is over a trust and is going to make sure that the specific things that you have in there are going to be followed by law. So you're going to have somebody. So if you pick somebody to be the executor of your trust and they have a issue with a family member, or there are issues with family members, or there's something like this person is essentially going to help make decisions. So they'll be like, well, your parents wanted you to get $100,000 a year for X amount of time. I know you thought you were going to get $2 million, but my job is to make sure you get that $100,000 a year and that you are now following these specific rules that they had for you to get this 100,000. So that person is kind of the word, I guess, an overseer of what the rules and what the wishes were in the trust. All right. So we're talking about structuring your real estate holdings using a trust and LLCs to hold property. So the big thing is understanding that a trust really is not holding the property. The documentation that has ownership of the property is what's in the trust. So most people will want to put their properties into an LLC. And you do the LLC to give yourself that barrier of protection. So if you own an apartment building and somebody falls down the stairs, and that apartment building was owned by Alicia Bramble, and she owns 3 other apartment buildings and trucks and other things, if somebody sued her, they're able to go after the building that they fell in, the other buildings that she owns, the trucks, and all her other assets. Where if she owned this building under the LLC of Get Money LLC 102, the only thing that they would be able to go after is anything held in that LLC. So they could possibly go after that property, they could go after the insurance on that property, but all her other assets would be protected. And then that LLC would be in a revocable or irrevocable trust. And they could go in and go after that, but that once again can be totally emptied out, that property, and all the other LLCs that she had in her trust would totally be fine. And she wouldn't have to, well, majority of the time, unless there was something malicious in the court files that she intentionally hurt somebody and intentionally did something, most of the time, the law is not going to allow someone suing you to attach to other properties that are in different LLCs. Now, you can't maliciously go put your properties in LLCs or in trust and then go out and commit fraud or crime and think because you have stuff separated that no one's going to be able to go after it. That's not true. And that's what a lot of people are going to tell you in a sly way on the internet, that you can essentially go and do anything you want to do as long as stuff's protected a certain way. If you end up in a racketeering or a RICO case because you're doing something, the government will come and take all your stuff, no matter how it's structured. So this information is to help you protect stuff when you're doing something legally right and when you're trying to avoid extra taxes. This information is not being given to show you how to go out and commit fraud or do crime. Just FYI. You want to add anything to that, Alicia? All
I
right,
have a couple questions.
go for it.
Jen Davis asked, should your 401k stock be in a trust? Mine or standalone with beneficiaries?
Yes, you want to have the beneficiaries of how it would be distributed from your 401k given to your employer or whoever is over that 401k. But then you want to have the assets from your 401k put into your trust.
Awesome. And then Paulette, so would the LLC be included in the trust? Would you put your personal primary residence in the same trust as your properties in the LLC?
Your personal primary residence, you put in an LLC as well, even though you live there. If the landscaper or something gets hurt there, you want to always be protecting your properties. You want to make sure that everything you have is a business, essentially, especially in America. And you want to make sure that anything has a value to it, has a certain level of protection. When you have a car, you go get car insurance. When you have a refrigerator, you get a warranty. Essentially, anything that you have that you feel like is worth something, you should put some level of protection on it, because you're not planning against best case scenario, you're planning against worst case scenario.
Mhm.
Was there other questions? It seemed like there was other things popping up in the chat.
Someone asked, can a financial advisor be the executor?
Executor of a trust, they are a lot of the times they are. They have their license, they have the great understanding of what your finances are, they know how to do it, but you want to make sure you're not just giving somebody carte blanche to do anything when they have. You don't want to say, well, Elizabeth's a financial advisor, so we gave her access to all of our finances forever, and she's supposed to make sure we make more money. There has to be some specific rules put on it. And a lot of times when you see people who lost their money as they got older, is because they gave power of attorney to somebody who at some point either took a gamble on something, maybe they fell on hard times. Like you'll see with financial advisors, to become a financial advisor, which I did when I was younger, you had to do a background check to see that you did not have bad credit and issues with your own personal finances, because one of the easiest things to do is you're having personal problems, manage somebody else's money, and when you're trying to fix your own life, borrow a little bit from theirs here and there, and then people look up and they're in bankruptcy because you've essentially looted their money. So if you have a financial advisor, you want to make sure that there are some levels of protection to what they have access to and what they don't. Stop gaps to say, hey, you're able to trade X amount, but if you're doing anything over this, you have to communicate with me. It should always be rules to everything that you're doing. And once again, attorney, CPA. If you have enough money to have a person who's over your executor over a trust over an estate, you spend a little bit of money to make sure that an attorney and a CPA are making sure you're good.
Thank you for that. Tina in Moccasin said, if someone gets injured at your primary residence, if it's in an LLC, they can't go after your other assets.
After your other assets, yes, but they can definitely go after your homeowner's insurance at that property. And that's what you want. You want them going after the thing that you're paying for to protect that asset. You don't want to not have that insurance, and then they're going after you and everything else you own.
Right. Raísta Schad said if you own a primary residence and 2 rental homes, you would need 3 LLCs, $800 fee to franchise tax board annually. Is that correct?
Essentially, if you feel like, I mean, the average house, the cheap house in California, cheapest you're going to get is like $500,000. It's a $500,000. For you to spend $800 a year to protect that is probably worth it. So, and if you have 2 investment properties, that $800 times 3, you use the first month or 2 months of rent on one of the properties to cover that and to give protection to your assets. I mean, being cheap is very expensive in the long run.
Mario Manzanilla said, do you recommend a family limited partnership, FLP, versus an LLC?
It depends on how you're structuring your business, how you're structuring your properties. Like that would be a lawyer question because they're going to know exactly what you're doing. One size does not fit all, everybody. So whether it's an LLP, an LLC, an S corp, a C corp, one size doesn't fit all. So that's why you want to always be talking to somebody who specializes in this so that you can get the best advice for yourself and not just a generic answer. I'm here to give you the basics, kind of a generic overview, but I am not a practicing attorney or an accountant. But any other questions, Elizabeth?
No.
Okay. So we talked about wills and trust. Let's see, how does using LLC help with liability? Let's see. We talked about that. So I know people are going to ask, like, if I have insurance, why should I have an LLC or a trust? I think I spoke on that. If you have insurance, you want to make sure you have insurance and an LLC and a trust, honestly, because they're all different things. The insurance covers the cost of something happening. The LLC separates your properties and your assets, and the trust is more for passing on your legacy or your wealth. So they do 3 things. The insurance makes sure you don't have to pay because you're paying the insurance every month. The LLC makes sure that your other assets are protected and it separates you from your personal finances. And the trust is where it's at for when you're trying to pass this along into either a buyer, a family member, or whatever situation. All right. Let's see. One of the things you want to understand why you're looking at a trust, it's the reason the trust is such a big deal is something called inheritance tax, which is high. And that's generally how people end up losing a lot of value in their property. So you have a $3 million house in Malibu, and that house gets turned over to a family member after you die. They go through an inheritance tax. That inheritance tax takes a huge chunk out of what that value of that property was. And if you don't have that to pay the tax, then you have to sell the property. So you put your property in the trust so you don't end up with it. Also, a step-up basis. So if Elizabeth decides to put her property in a trust and leave it to her daughter, that property is owned by the trust. When Elizabeth passes away and her daughter gets the property, there are going to be taxes. So the property, when she bought it, was $1 million. When she passes away, it's worth $4 million. So in California, she'd be paying 1.25 on the $1 million. When her daughter gets it, she'd be paying 1.25 on $4 million. And so the reason you want to keep it in a trust is because you don't end up with a step-up basis in your taxes, because when the person passes away, it just transitions to the next person who has the trust. It doesn't do a change of ownership, which automatically puts you in a different tax bracket from the step-up. Anything you want to add to that, Alicia?
So
go ahead.
So essentially, if I didn't have a trust and I received, or my daughter received, property, and now the value, my value or my assets go up to, like you said, 4 million. What is that called again?
That's called a step up tax or basis points. Ends up going up on the value of the property. Or like in California, like I said, it's 1.25% of the value of the property. So
Mm.
if your daughter decided to sell the property and she bought it and there was no, I mean, she got it and there was no trust. And it was $1 million when you bought it, and it's 4 million when she received it, the value. It also is if she decides to sell it within 6 months after you pass away, because she's just like, I can't live here, she's going to have a huge capital gains tax.
Mhm.
And one of the things that having it in the trust and having that not happen can also sometimes reduce or even eliminate their capital gains taxes, which can be huge. Once again, for every person and every property, this is a little different. So you always want to consult with an attorney, a CPA, to make sure that everything that I'm telling you adds up for you, because once again, this is general information. This is not based specifically on you.
We have a couple questions.
Okay.
Can you put a home and 2 rentals in one LLC?
Yeah. But everything in that LLC now is up to being, you can go after everything in that LLC.
Mariam
You can
and
put
Samara
100
said,
properties in one LLC. And if you get sued on one property, they can go after the other 99.
mm, sorry. Do you recommend an umbrella policy?
On what specifically?
It was just a question.
I like umbrella policies if they make sense. If you got a car and you got a house and you got a business and you got life insurance and you got pet insurance and they'll give you a discount for doing it, why wouldn't you?
Shiva Razi said, can I give a gift? Can I give a gift? Can I gift a property that is in an LLC to my daughter during my lifetime? Inheritance tax versus gift tax. What is the difference? Step basis consequence of doing this while alive?
I don't have that exact number. I don't know what city, state, municipality you're in. I also would say that is a great question. And gifting a property is something. You're in Reseda, California. I would definitely, there's going to be some taxable consequence to it, gifting it. It would be better to put it in a trust and then just put her on as one of the owners in the trust. That would just remove a lot of the issue. She would have control of the property and wouldn't have to take on the responsibility of paying taxes or anything for having it. But once again, I don't know how you have your assets structured. So definitely consult with a CPA and an attorney. But owning properties without a trust and LLCs is essentially, if you're a renter and you don't have anything, and there's no disrespect to that, then don't worry about having trust. Don't worry about having LLCs. Don't worry about a lot of stuff. If you have assets, this country's goal, even back to Robin Hood. If you think about who the bad guy in Robin Hood was, it was the tax collector. If you have things, this country is coming to try to get a portion of it. And there's nothing wrong with the government getting a portion to make sure we have roads and water and all those things. But you want to make sure that you are protecting as much of that as possible by putting in certain structures. I see somebody asking a question about something being paid off.
Yeah, can you put a property in a trust before it's paid off?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I think Mario said umbrella policy, if we own several rental properties as well as other assets.
Yes, so definitely, if you have own multiple properties, it would definitely be cheaper to have an umbrella policy. If you have multiple properties and businesses and things like that, you're always going to get a better price from insurance company if you're giving them more assets to charge you for.
Someone said, what does it cost in general to set up a trust? Range of
It
lawyer
depends on
fees?
where you're at. People go and try to go through prepaid legal. People go and get them off the internet. People, in general, you're probably going to pay between $2,000 to $5,000 to have one set up the right way. You want to make
Yeah,
sure it is structured.
that's exactly right. So the attorneys will charge between 2,500 to about 4,500 to set up either a trust, a will, revocable trust, whatever it is, because there's documents they have to file, and there's a ton of questions that they have to ask you to get you to the right, living trust or will that's right for you. So it is an investment ultimately, to hire an attorney, a knowledgeable attorney. I actually have two recommendations for attorneys, but it's going to cost you, and it's worth it in the end.
Right.
All right. So I know we had some questions about so what is this one? Let's see. Avoiding and probate. Let's see. So take a look at these. I think I answered most of these earlier as we were talking. Um, you want to make sure you're setting up an operating agreement if you have a business so that everybody knows who gets what. If you are probate takes all your money. So you never want to go into probate because it's just giving away money. So if you can afford a trust and you have the ability to do it, make sure you do it. If you have multiple properties, make sure you have LLCs because you don't want all your assets connected. And make sure that everything's insured to the level of being able to cover things to a point where you will be made whole. You won't be made better, but you'll be made whole. If you look at what happened to a lot of the people in Altadena and Pacific Palisades, a lot of those houses were paid off, so they weren't required to have insurance. And I know it's easier to look back on it now and say, oh, everybody should have insurance. But we pay for insurance not for what's going to happen, but for what could happen. And I know that extra money in our pocket can always be good, but when something goes wrong, it can devastate you. So make sure things are insured correctly. Let's see, we talked about tax strategies. I talked about step-up bases. 1031 exchanges. If you have properties that have that your family, like if you have children and you have 4 houses and you have it set up for those houses to be in a trust and in LLCs, and they decide that they want it to sell and they're going to end up with a large capital gains. One of the things that you can teach them about is doing a 1031, where they may exchange those 4 properties into one apartment building and avoid taxes or delay the taxes, or they can do it into a retail shopping center and then have somebody manage it so that they don't have to manage rental houses because maybe they don't ever want to manage that. They can roll it into something else like a industrial building where they never have to show up, and then the family can make money for decades. But trying to stay away from paying taxes is a very, very smart thing to do. Talk to your attorney about gifting strategies. The gentleman who asked earlier, you definitely want to find out the best way to gift something. I don't know your exact scenario, but if you can gift something or if you can just put it in a trust, you want to talk to your attorney and find out which is the best way to go about. I think I've talked on most things. I really want to be able to answer questions that I can to the best of my ability.
Yeah, and also I think next week's workshop focuses on 1031 exchanges
Okay.
or the last the last workshop in this program. Let's see.
So I guess I would also say like the things you want to do kind of in order is have a will. That way you can kind of understand what you want to do, get with an attorney and put that in a trust. Look into a durable power of attorney. That's something you should talk to the attorney about. And then a healthcare directive, because something could happen to you and then an executor or somebody else is in control of your family's future and you didn't set them in place because you didn't have all these things. And then the government puts an executor over your family and they may not work in your best interest. Then is there another slide, Elizabeth?
Yeah, we just have a couple questions.
Oh, go for them.
One is, do you have to notify the mortgage companies if you move your properties into a trust?
The mortgage companies will be made aware. Yes.
Okay.
They still own, if they own, if you paid off 60% of the property, they still own 40%.
Mhm. Do the 1031 exchanges have to be of equal value?
So how a 1031 works is, let's say you own a house that's worth $800,000 now, and it has to be a property that is an investment property. It can't be your personal property. So it's worth 800,000. That's what you're selling it for. You don't want to get hit with capital gains because you bought it for 100,000. You end up using it to buy an apartment building. You use the whole 800,000 to buy the apartment building. You do not have any taxable income gain, so there's no tax paid on it. Now, if you say I'm going to take 600,000 of this 800,000 to put down for the apartment building for the down payment, and then I'm going to take 200,000 in cash, that 200,000 you're going to get capital gains taxes on.
Thank you. I have recently rolled real estate assets into 1031 DSTs. It's been great so far. If I put the 1031's DST assets into a trust, does my child inherit the assets with the step up in basis?
Ooh, that's a great question. So you have the properties already. You have them. That you already have the properties, or you've identified them, or you have them, or you've identified them.
She owns them.
Okay, so you have the properties and they're already performing assets. Yes, you put the properties in the you put it in the trust, and when you pass away, the properties have not changed hands. So essentially, until they refinance or they sell or something else, those properties should be essentially how you gave them over to them. Once again, I don't know if you depreciated or did anything like this in your lifetime with the properties. So those are the things that you talk to your accountant about. Because if you've done anything like cost segregation or anything like that, it could be some taxable issues, but you got to make sure your accountant has given you the full breakdown of what you've done and what you haven't done. And one of the things when I'm talking about taxes on here, guys, like everybody wants to make sure, like in the tax code, there are two words. There's tax avoidance and tax evasion. Tax avoidance is something that every American has the right to do. It talks about it in the tax code. Tax evasion gets you sent to jail. So the goal is to avoid taxes to the most you can, not to evade taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, this is a good one. When you have property, and that sounds like a lot of people in the audience may have children and you have assets, you got to start talking to your kids about what you have. Now, you don't want to tell them that you're rich and you don't want to tell them every single thing about it. So they're like out here acting crazy, but you want them to have a good understanding of what they have coming to them and how they should manage it. Because one of the things I run into a lot, especially coming from the mortgage side, is I'll have parents say, "Oh my God, My son, he's so irresponsible. If I gave him these properties, he wouldn't even know what to do with them. And then my first question to them is, did you ever tell them what to do with them? And then they'll go, no. I was like, so how would they know when to pay taxes on the properties, what tenants to talk to, where the stoppels are, where the insurance is, if the only time they ever saw that information was in a big folder that was given to them at from a attorney at a funeral home? Like, you have to prepare your children or your heirs or whoever they are, friends or family, whoever you're leaving it to, they have to be prepared to take this on because it's a responsibility. And anybody who had the ability to go buy properties know that it took work to get those properties. It takes work to maintain those properties. You need to make sure that information is shared. So first thing I would do is say, have a family meeting, going over what's owned, where things are, if things are in a safe deposit box or things are in a trust. People should have some general working knowledge. Now, if you can't trust your kids, that's a different thing. I'm not sure what to tell you. You need to make sure that your stuff is, secured some way. But if these are the things that you're leaving to them, make sure there's a plan in place because nothing goes right when there's no plan. Let's see. Selling assets with minimal tax impact, hiring a professional property management company. If you have properties and the kids are saying, oh, I don't, you're leaving them a bunch of properties and you know that you sent your kids to school to be doctors, lawyers, marketing professionals, psychologists, whatever, and they don't have an understanding how to run these properties that you've been running for 20 years, having your will or in your trust that they have to have a professional property management company manage those properties so that they can go about their regular day-to-day basis and not be stressed about if Miss Johnson paid rent or if the water heater in this property is going out, because what they're going to end up doing is probably just selling something that you worked really, really, really hard to give them because they just see it as a burden and not as an asset. Let's see, using insurance, paying off mortgages. Yes. If you have properties, have life insurance. If you have mortgages on properties, if you have a reverse mortgage happening, whatever it is, you should have a big enough life insurance policy to pay off those debts when you pass. It would be better to give your kids 3 houses free and clear when your insurance pays it off than to give them a lump sum of money that they can just mess off. Those assets can grow in value and keep producing income for them every month. Whether then instead of giving them $400,000 in cash and they go to Bali or Vegas for a weekend, they have some houses that they can get $3,000, $4,000 a month for the rest of their life. All right. Any other slides, Liz? Any other questions?
Yes. I own properties in several states. Can the
Mhm.
living trust cover other states as long as each property is in the California Living Trust?
Everything can go into that living trust. All the larger owners of property have trust. You need to make sure that every one of those properties has the specific LLC set up with the rules for that state or municipality so that you can understand what the tax liabilities or implications are for each state. And that's why you want to make sure you have a good attorney putting together your trust and then a CPA advising them on what this state's going to issue is going to be and what that state issue is going to be, because most attorneys and CPAs don't work cross state, or most attorneys don't work cross state, I should say, but the tax code is similar in most. And worst case scenario, you have your attorney contact one in another state to help craft what you need.
Awesome.
Let's see. So we got a little white paper here, a little case study. So business owner structures real estate for generational wealth. Let's see. No probate, are they good? Well, I think we really went through all these earlier. Like you want to make sure, once again, insurance is to pay for issues that happen. The trust is to protect you from passing, well, the LLC is to protect all your assets from not being commingled, and the trust is to stop you from having to give all your money away in probate and tax step ups when you transition and the properties are left to your kids. So you want to have all those things in order. Once again, as I said earlier, you want to be able to have a will to make sure that everybody understands what you're trying to do, a trust to make sure that that information is put into there, a durable power of attorney, and everything should be pretty good.
I see a question in the chat. Once you set up a trust, what does it cost to amend it? For example, add or remove assets from it.
Generally, you're going to want to go with that trust attorney, and then they usually get paid by the hour. So that fee could be different if it's an hour worth of work and they charge $4.50 an hour. Could be that, or they may have a set fee for it, and it's like, oh, for making an amendment or a change, I charge $600 to $800. That's going to come down to who your attorneys are.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've been answering the questions the whole time.
Yeah, I know. This was so good. I really enjoyed this presentation. So at this time, first everyone give Odess, Alicia a round of applause for providing such good information. At this time, I want to invite everyone into the call. Let's see. And if you have any questions, you can ask Odess and Alicia directly.
Hi.
How's it going, Antonio?
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you guys for putting together a very important presentation. And by looking at the chat, people are engaged in asking very good questions. I learned a lot myself from you guys. Thank you again. I am a loan officer with Golden State CDC SBA lender. I am an SBA lender. And I would love to partner with you guys because we're putting together a presentation for some people who will be referred to us by the Small Business Development Center in Long Beach. And I don't want to take too much time, but I will be contacting you, Elizabeth, if I may, and would love to have Odess talk about syndication. I don't know whether Odess will be. You mentioned something about a syndication program. We need someone to talk about that, but this topic is also very important. So maybe we can definitely include you guys. And if I can get your phone number, Elizabeth, then I can call. Well, you got my email address anyway.
And I'll also put my for anyone that's looking for like consultation to connect. I'm gonna put in the chat. Here we go. Let me see.
I'm taking the liberty in sharing with you all my contact information.
Absolutely.
Let's see. And we type enter, I guess. I just want to make sure that I did not include my social security number there or number. Okay, I'm good. Thank you, guys. That's all I wanted to say.
All right, thank you.
And so, anyone else have any questions? Now's the time. Feel free to jump in.
I did drop 2 attorneys in the chat, so you'll have to scroll back up to find them.
Yeah, can you guys leave your contact information in the chat or some, or are you going to post that?
Yeah. So I put a link in here. It's to my calendar. And
Well, what I'm referring to is email address and phone number.
yeah. Let me see. Right.
And somebody asked about the difference between a trustor or a trustee. So a trustor is the person who creates the trust or puts the assets into the trust. The trustees are the people I'm sorry. The trustor is the person who puts it together and puts everything in it. And the trustee is the person who essentially gets and manages the trust. They follow the instructions in the trust.
Mhm. Mhm. Wonderful. Does anyone else have any questions, comments? No, okay. I'm also gonna give me one moment. I want to share this last newsletter. I'm not sure if you guys are all on my newsletter listserv, but I want to share this newsletter link right here. This is our newsletter, but it has also the recordings of our other two workshops we did, property management as a business owner and syndication with friends and family. So if you click on that, um, and I appreciate you all, participating in this. This is a pilot program between Black Tech Link and SoCal PPM. And so we definitely want to continue building upon this program series. We initially created 4 workshops. Our final workshop, I believe, is exchanging your real estate holdings into commercial real estate. I think that was the last one. Let me double check. Yeah, exchanging your residential holdings into commercial real estate, which we kind of talked about a little bit today, 1031 exchanges. But I encourage you to participate in the last workshop in this series so far. It's going to be Monday, March 31st, same time, 6 p.m. to 7:30. All right. Let's see. I see a question. Key man insurance. Can you talk a little bit about that? And what point would you do that? Is there a dollar threshold?
The threshold is going to change based on the value of the company and what the revenue is. I would definitely, if I had a business with somebody else and the business was profitable or it was set up to be profitable in a certain amount of time, I would get the key man insurance to make sure if you lost that partner, the family and the friends or the business, I should say, could actually take that hit and be able to take it. So if the key man insurance, if Alicia or if James, we're not gonna say Alicia, if James passed away, our business partner, and he's a intricate part of our business, we were able to have that insurance to be able to pay out to help us cover what he would bring to the company based on a monetary price that would be set by the insurance company. They'll give you a value of what that is. Welcome.
Awesome. And then I'm also going to put our attorney. Let me see if I can find her. Marissa. So we have attorney that we work with our nonprofit. She's not necessarily a probate attorney, but she is very skilled in her expertise in creating LLCs. And she may have may be able to also refer you to a trust attorney. Her name is Marissa Talbert. I'm going to put her in the chat as well. There you go. Let me see if I can find her email as well. And then someone asked if the replay will be provided. Yes, we do send the replay. So we try to send out newsletters every week. And in those weekly newsletters, we provide the recordings, and everyone that has participated, registered for this workshop, they'll be added to our newsletter, so you'll be able to receive that. And there's Marissa Talbert's information as well. So those are a couple attorneys that may be able to help you. All right. Does anyone else have any other questions? No? Well, Odessa, I want to say thank you again for another great workshop. I know this was cutting into y'all Laker game.
Well, the Lakers just won. The Lakers just won by 1 point, so I'm good.
Okay. Okay, good. All's well, ends well.
Hey,
All
see,
right.
yes, great. That's right.
All right, all the Lakers, all the LA fans here, all the LA residents. All right. Well, until next week then. And again, I appreciate everybody being on the call. And Odessa, I really appreciate your time today.
My pleasure. It's nice speaking with everybody. If you got any stuff, send it over to Elizabeth. I'd be happy to connect.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate the kind words.